Hey everybody, welcome to Fridays with Steve. I'm getting better at production every day. A nice fade out with the music and fade in with me. Thanks for joining us again this week, whether you're watching live or watching on record. We finished up our month of managed services. Big thanks to all the internal help I got delivering those messages around managed services, our Empower for Microsoft 365 offering, as well as security services. And now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Copilot and AI. It's a hot topic with Microsoft. There are some nuances to sort of the rollout and being a partner and being a customer that I'm going to talk a little bit about as well. You'll notice today there's a little bit more sort of video content and some things that I'll comment on. Microsoft does a good job of building awareness, building hype ahead of product launches and things like that, or in tandem with them. And so I'll talk a little bit about sort of what that means realistically for you as an IT leader, for us as a partner. And so I've got some great examples of some of the actual utility of Copilot. Hey, what would I use this thing for? I think they're great examples to kind of show, where this stuff is headed. I'm also going to talk a little bit, both, on script and off script, about some of the safety and security and, is it going to take over the world and things like that, and give you a bit of my perspective. And so thanks for joining us. Hope you'll enjoy the episode. So I went and found an old picture of ENIAC and sort of where all this stuff started. For me, this is kind of a fun topic because it matches a lot of things that I'm interested in. I sort of imagine myself, as much of a Renaissance man as someone can be, and think about philosophy and some of the history of this stuff. And if you think about it, man has always been sort of thinking about other intelligence, other life, whether it's from, outside the Earth, the galaxy, or whether it's something we can create, ourselves here on Earth, dating back, to the beginning of civilization. Reading up on it in preparation, I found some fascinating mixtures and concoctions people thought would, grow life or grow an additional intelligence. But, if you want to win a bet at parties, it sure seems like the seminal moment for AI is the summer conference at Dartmouth in 1956. So some of the greatest minds in engineering and philosophy and the emerging field of compute got together for a few weeks and really spent the entire time talking about and sort of imagining that if you had enough pathways, if you had enough horsepower, there was no part of human intelligence that you couldn't, replicate decision making and those kinds of things. And so it's kind of fascinating to me that, the same institution that, gave us Animal House is the same institution that has now given us AI. Hopefully they are unrelated in their outcomes, but really trace it back to 1956. And since then, whether it's Turing or other folks really continuing to advance, where this is going, and now with so much compute horsepower and the large language models, we really have the ability to start to, and I guess I will still say simulate intelligence. I'm sure some of you have had experience with LLMs, whether it's Bing Chat or whether it's ChatGPT or offerings from other folks, that it takes what it perceives as the sum total of human knowledge. I guess I would argue the internet isn't necessarily a perfect Venn diagram overlap with human intelligence, but save that for another day or over a beer or something like that, and use that to say, hey, based on that, what's the answer to that question? Let me predict where this is going. And it's super, super useful. And what Microsoft is doing is taking this history taking where we're at right now and honestly, making it something that's useful within business, right? Making it useful within your environments, and I'll show you some great examples of that here in a second. And so, Copilot has gone general availability, and I promised you I would be a bit transparent about a couple of challenges. One is for us as a partner, it's really hard to get your hands on, and even use it like within our own business tenant. One of the things that Microsoft has a long history of, and hopefully it won't be long before they catch up in this space, is making technology available to their partners. So, partners can, run Teams as soon as possible, use Exchange Online as soon as it's released, use Dynamics to run their businesses, even if they're not Dynamics partners, because what that does is it breeds knowledge and insight into the tools, because they're the tools we use every day. And so I'm using some of the public things, but we're still waiting on the partner ability to be able to really integrate it into our stack. The flip side of that coin is right now it's a 300 seat sort of minimum when it comes to these things, and so that's sort of um, that line through the human heart goes right through our customers, right? We got a bunch on either side, and so it's an interesting time for us as we work with customers, because we have some that might be interested but can't. We have others that aren't interested but can, and it's quite a challenge. But it is available, and there are ways that you can start to experience some of these things. And what I will say, very positively about Copilot is that it is taking, these technologies, and your data, and really manifesting things that are useful within the apps, right? I've got an Outlook example, I've got a Word example, others that I will show you that really says, well, how do I make this contextual and useful within my business, right? Summarize data or give me action items based off of my meetings, my emails, and not the general knowledge of the internet, except for when that's appropriate, right? When that can inform those kinds of decisions. And that's what's super, super interesting about this. And then after the videos, I'll talk a little bit about how that stays safe, how that stays your data. I think whenever, we talk about Graph, or we talk about tools that Microsoft makes available that sort of go after your data, there's always hey, how is this federated? How is this kept separate? If someone does, a Bing chat search about, what companies are most interested in growth in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If I have a secret plan for my company to open a new office in Minneapolis, that ain't going to show up in Bing chat, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that safety and security piece. And so let's go ahead and get into it and start taking a look at some of these use cases and what they're going to be good for. All right, so there are a couple more setup slides than I anticipated. So first thing we're going to look at is chat, and we're going to go ahead and launch the video right now. And so what you can see there with the chat piece is that, with you at the center, it's bringing together all of the information that you have within your environment, being able to do contextual things and really make it useful. I think that's a good general sort of take, or a good general view of what this stuff looks like. And hopefully I remember correctly. I've had a busy week traveling. We're actually going to take a look now at those individual applications, M365 applications, that are going to provide a bunch of utility.
Introducing Microsoft. And gives you the answer. Next on your to-do list, finalize the date and speaker for the opening event. You missed the last meeting, and this might have come up in the conversation. Copilot's got you covered, getting you up to speed in seconds. Looks like it was a dynamic discussion, and it's your responsibility to make a final decision. To do that, you need to understand all the factors at play, including the implications they have on your grand opening timeline. Copilot extracts the relevant details and puts them in an organized table, which helps bring the full picture into view. You're not seeing a clear answer, so you ask it to recommend the best date and speaker based on the constraints discussed. It not only understands the constraints, it thinks through the options to help solve your problem. There you go. Now you have a clear recommendation, so you can make the call and notify the team. Now that you've got the opening date, you've got to get customers excited. Time to write a blog post. You point Copilot to the right files and ask it to tune the message to the audience. Note the amount of detail, such as asking it to pick the top 5 things and make them prominent. Here it goes. Copilot gets to work. Okay, now you've got a blog post. This store will be the first to unveil your new home improvement concierge service, and you need a catchy tagline. Let's generate some options. This is great for when you've got a case of writer's block. Here we go. These look pretty good. Lastly, you want to highlight the impressive retail experience of the new store manager. Best source for that? LinkedIn. Copilot generates an updated blog for you that includes the new additions. Now, the opening is just around the corner, and you've got to send an email to the team so they have everything they need to push this over the finish line. Now, one of the amazing things about Copilot is you don't need to worry about things like punctuation, spelling, or being super structured. You can give it a total brain dump. You could spend the next hour putting together an email that outlines the key details, but with Copilot, you're never more than a few seconds away from a solid first draft. There was a great quote in the store walkthrough video that you want to include, but you don't remember where you last saw it or have time to search for it, let alone re-watch it to find the quote. Based on your quick description, Copilot finds the exact video you're thinking of, extracts the quote you wanted, and plugs both the quote and the video into your email. So, you like the draft, but it doesn't sound like you. Introducing Sound Like Me in Outlook. Now you can personalize any email to match your unique style and voice. And check this out. It even knows your signature. M365 Chat is a whole new way to work. Introducing Copilot Lab, To help everyone learn to work iteratively with AI and get the most out of Microsoft 365 Copilot. Copilot Lab is a place to experiment, to learn the art and science of prompting, how to turn a good prompt into a great one. Share your favorite prompts with coworkers and get inspired as we all learn to work in a whole new way together.
So I love the idea they added a place for you to go learn with Lab, because that's one of the things that we've been getting feedback on from customers, is that learning prompts is its own deal. So let's take a look at Outlook.
Microsoft 365 Chat supports external plugins, enabling users to connect to external tools without switching apps. Let's say you need to book a trip. You can do all that with just natural language. You want to match the itinerary of a colleague? M365 Chat can pull those details directly from an email they sent you. You can then ask it to help you book the same itinerary. Here, it uses the Citric Easy App plugin from Amadeus, which makes travel booking a breeze. It generates an itinerary for you, where you can select from other flights or view the final details to confirm the specifics of the trip before purchasing. Simply click book and you're done. M365 Chat supports third-party plugins from any data source, so you can stay in your flow of work without needing to change screens.
All right, sorry about that. I forgot about the third-party plugin piece. So that's a critical one as well. I love the Jira plugin we saw earlier as well.
Copilot in Outlook can help you prioritize your time and stay on top of meetings. Here, you've been invited to a meeting that conflicts with another meeting you're already attending. Clearly, you can only attend one. From the meeting invite, you can choose to RSVP with follow. Switching over to your calendar, you can see that you're now following this meeting. Once the meeting starts on Teams, the organizer will receive a notification to record the meeting because someone is following it. Now, after the meeting is done and the recording is ready, Copilot will notify you that the meeting recap is ready for you to review. You can then ask Copilot some questions about the meeting, like, summarize this meeting, or are there any action items for me? That way you can stay on top of things as if you were present during the meeting.
So that's a good example for me. I, for one, welcome this piece, as I think I'll be following meetings whether or not I have conflicts. So it's a great feature I'm looking forward to.
When it comes to creativity, sometimes getting started is the hardest part. But how about when you want to add a visual to a text-heavy document? Now, with the new Designer integration in Copilot, you can effortlessly bring your ideas to life visually. Designer uses the context of your document to propose some visuals to choose from, and you can make it more personal by uploading your own photos. Within moments, you can create a custom graphic right in your document. Designer is the latest addition to our family of Microsoft 365 consumer apps. Powered by new generative AI, it allows you to create and edit visuals, giving you everything you need to make your projects pop. Within moments, Designer quickly transitions your idea into a custom graphic with options to choose from. Once you select a design, you can customize your graphic further with new generative AI image editing features. Need to erase that unwanted object in the background? Like perhaps someone or something that takes away from the true star of your photo. Just hover and click. And sometimes your picture may not fill the full frame, but now you can expand any image to really make it shine. Done. You can even add an entirely new object. Or maybe you just want to mix it up a bit. By leveraging the DALL-E 3 image editing model, it's as simple as using your imagination and your words. What used to require specialized software and photo editing skills can now be done in just a few clicks.
So to me, the image stuff is bonkers. That one's hard for me to get my brain around still. So cool stuff.
Python and Excel brings the world of Excel and Python analytics together, and now Copilot is here to help you along the way. With the new PY function, you can use powerful Python libraries right within your Excel workbook to create compelling plots and visualizations, train machine learning models, and other advanced analytics. With Copilot, you don't need to be an expert. All you need are simple prompts. Want to estimate your future sales? Copilot can generate forecasts using one of the multiple Python libraries available through Python and Excel. You can then better understand and visualize the data by requesting a chart. With Copilot, you can create Python visualizations like multiplots to see how variables relate to each other, or use powerful data cleansing techniques such as regex to apply consistent formatting to your data, or apply machine learning models. Copilot brings the rich capabilities of Python and Excel to your fingertips.
Look forward to using that with my sales team. Accurate forecasts is always a challenge within any business.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is transforming work with the power of generative AI. It's built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to enterprise-grade security, compliance, privacy, identity, and responsible AI. Copilot automatically inherits your organization's Microsoft 365 security, compliance, and privacy policies, so you know your data is protected and always in your control. It all starts with your Microsoft 365 tenant. Data stored in your tenant is encrypted and only available to the users within that tenant. Your existing Microsoft 365 permissions and policies ensure the data won't leak between users and groups. And Copilot users only have access to data they've been granted permission to see in Microsoft 365 using the same technology customers have relied on for years. Your tenant sits inside the Microsoft 365 service boundary, where Microsoft's commitments to security, compliance, data location, and privacy are upheld. The Copilot large language models, or LLMs, that process your data sit within that same boundary, much like other Microsoft 365 services. Microsoft does not have eyes-on access, which means no one can view your data. Your data is not used to train the LLMs. And our EU customers can be confident that their data is processed within the EU data boundary. Microsoft 365 Copilot, enterprise-grade security and privacy for the era of generative AI.
So that comes back to me just to kind of chat about that last video you saw, which is, always the grand concern around these learning models, and we're starting to see, some pushback from copyright holders, from publishers, individual authors and creators to say, hey, wait a second, can you take my beautiful painting of a sunset and use it to generate other people's generative AI sunsets? And what's interesting is, in this space, because it's all your data and then being processed through the LLM, it actually, stays contained, right? So as you saw, it's not going anywhere. It's not training the model. And it stays within sort of your federated space within the Microsoft cloud. And I think this is, ironically, one of the interesting things is that for business, dealing with sensitive data and so forth, it's actually maybe a little bit ahead of some of the public things that have some challenges that they need to figure out, right? There was there are still, cases in the Supreme Court every sitting, every fall around copyright and trademark. And I think it's only a matter of time before some of these styles of learning and generative AI tools that sort of exist in the public domain might face some challenges around how they learn and how they generate content. But like I said, the irony is that in the business sense, it's actually a little bit further ahead, right? Because it's using your data. It respects permissions. It's funny, over the course of my career, every time something new like, internal search or, different tools that might, scrub, go through the data in an environment. The question is always, does it respect permissions? If I do a search for files, can I find the one that says, Steve's improvement plan? Even if I can't read it, I better not be able to see the title either. And so we've been through this a number of times. And what's fun is that Copilot actually respects all those same things that we expect it to respect within our tenants. And so, using it with confidence, there aren't going to be, copyright challenges like I described. They're really sensitive to this, in the same way that they are already respecting the boundaries of your M365 tenants. And just some real quick, stats on productivity. I think GitHub and in the developer space, I think we can all sort of, philosophically kind of imagine how beneficial something like Copilot can be in that space. Getting it to do the basics for you, make that, in my world, make that first draft, right? Get me editing versus staring at a blank page. So much productivity baked into that, and some early results are really demonstrating it. And so whether it's Bing Chat Enterprise or testing out some of those features and functions, there are opportunities. Work with us. We'll help you, be able to test out or incorporate, the different things that you're eligible for. Like I mentioned, there are some large caveats right now with some of the availability pieces. It is generally available, but it's got some different aspects to it when it comes to tenant size and for us partners. But we're happy to jump in and help. We'll help you navigate the marginally complicated landscape right now. We're ready to hop in and navigate it with you. If you want a copy of this deck or just the links that are included, please let me know and I will get that back to you right away. So that's our first Copilot talk. I think those videos were great and really demonstrate some of the capability in a way that we all can imagine. Me doing my sales forecasts or writing a first draft of an email, or like I said, I'm going to start following meetings even if I don't have conflicts, right? There are a lot of times when, I do find myself in a meeting where I just need to know the outcome, guys, right? I need to know what are the action items, what are the decisions, have visibility to that, potentially provide feedback, right? But oftentimes, for those of us as leaders, it's okay if my feedback is a little out of band, specifically targeted to individuals versus having to sit in the meeting and sort of, as you might guess, I sometimes talk a lot. And so maybe I want them to have the meeting, generate their ideas and responses and go-dos, and just provide a little bit of feedback, a little bit of coaching after the fact, versus being that gravity well where, everybody's waiting for me to answer the question. I don't like that, right? I'd much rather have my team of very, very smart people figure something out and just make sure that it aligns with our overall strategy. So we can help you navigate this world, right? We've been doing this a long time. We've seen many iterations of transformative technology. This is definitely one, and we'd love to be your partner in this journey. I also want to shout out our Teams Room virtual showcase event coming up later in November. We've got lots of fun technology in the office, and I'm going to come up with some creative ways to really demonstrate and show you what it's like to have that full Teams Room experience. As I mentioned, I was traveling this week. I was actually in the office in Southfield, and we've just got a lot of amazing spaces and experiences that we've done for ourselves and done for a bunch of our customers. And so really excited to share that with you. Just scan the QR code or visit our LinkedIn page for information on registering, or grab that URL at the bottom of the screen. So that's it. Contact your AE if you want to start talking Copilot. If you're an existing customer, if you're not a customer, reach out to sales, or like I said, reach out to me directly. Happy to follow up with you on things you saw today or questions you have, getting you connected with people on our staff to really take that first step with Copilot and AI within your environment. Like I said, it's kind of ironic that the business side of this actually has an advantage, because you want to ask questions of your data, not the public's data. And because of those tighter controls, you end up with better answers. So that's it. Thanks for joining us. I know a couple of times there was a little bit of clunky transitions. I take full blame for those, but I hope it was watchable and informative. And we'll see you next time on Fridays with Steve.